everyone, Play from Brooklyn, football with the fellas. It's all about Big Blue. Here with a look at the game we just played against the Packers. Last look at Week 11, the beginning of the Mike Kafka era, and frankly, he didn't do terribly. I mean, yes, we lost the game. That's something we seem to be very good at. But I like some of the changes he's made. I like, it's his first week, so I don't expect him to completely reinvent the wheel. But he did some things. He benched Abdul Carter for the first series. I think that sent a message not just to Carter but to the team. He promoted his own, the tight ends coach to be his own offensive coordinator. And, it just looks like he is going to take some ownership and charge, which I was concerned that maybe he wouldn't do right away. But to his credit, he has. In any event, I do want to take a look at a couple of plays from the game against the Packers, and let's see what we can learn. So, learn is a strong word, but let's see what we can take away from this. So, first of all, some good news. We started off the first drive. We scored a touchdown. We had a nice little series of plays, including a Daniel Bellinger chip on Micah Parsons to help establish a good pocket, which was there most of the day. I would say that the offensive line had another very solid game. Look at this pocket. Look at this pocket. I mean, it's been years since a Giants quarterback has been able to do that. And then he hits, Wandale for a nice chunk game. So, these are highlights. These are things we didn't always do. We even did some good run blocking. Wait a minute, that's a thing? We're allowed to run block too? So, this is what offensive lines are supposed to do, which is to open up holes and to get to the second level. And there you see a very nice hole there, getting to the second level. So, yeah, this is a good thing. Another very good pocket and a nice completion to Isaiah Hodgins. Remember him? Why did we not have him all year long? I have no idea, but he's a very good route runner. He knows where to turn and sit down in the zone. And the offensive line gave Jameis time to find him without anybody in his face. Just a great play. Watch this again. Look at this pocket. Look at this. Look at this. He's just got time. And somebody's open. I mean, that's a wonderful thing. So, yeah, like it. The end of this drive was a touchdown run by Devin Singletary, his first of two. And again, let's watch how the offensive line goes about its business and opens a hole. Right? You see the double team block, climb to the second level. You see JMS shielding. This is how we draw it up, right? This is what it's supposed to be, right? So you see, let's take a look. Jermaine Illuminor takes Micah Parsons and lets him go up the field, kind of just pushes him up the field. Remember we talked about that week one when James Hudson was doing it. Offensive linemen do that a lot. They kind of, not a lot, but it's not that rare for a tackle to kind of like just help an edge rusher up the field, which is exactly what Illuminor did. Here's a double team, and then the climb by Greg Van Roten to the second level, leaving JMS by himself, but JMS shifts his body weight very nicely and then re-anchors and allows this hole to be there for Singletary to run through. So, yeah, good times. Very good play by Cordell Flott, causing what actually was ruled a fumble. It looked like it might have been called an incomplete pass at first, but here, on a quick out to the tight end, Flott comes up, punches out of his hand, and the ball rolls out of bounds, and it was ruled a fumble. We got to extend this guy. We got to keep Flott. I mean, he's not a Pro Bowler, but he is certainly a solid defensive back, and how many of those do we have? Okay, so now for some of the bad. Dane Belton, what exactly do you think your job is? This is Dane Belton. Oh, I didn't mean for that to still be there. Forgive me. This is Dane Belton. Watch him get stuck in limbo land. Okay, so I get it. He, right now, I'm not exactly sure who he thinks he's covering. Maybe he thinks that's his man, the tight end, but he's just kind of standing here now, not covering anybody, not rushing the quarterback. And where does this throw go? Now, fortunately, he dropped it. But this throw goes right behind where Belton came from. I just don't quite get. And again, maybe this is scheme, right? Maybe that's his man. But when your man stays in the block and doesn't go out at all, in fact, he blocks his own man, which I'm pretty sure wasn't the design play, then do something else. This man's crossing the dig. It would have been nice if you dropped back into the zone. You're clearly too far away to actually sack the quarterback, right? And there's somebody putting pressure on the quarterback and someone else, right? We got three giants here taking care of the quarterback. At that point, to me, you back up and drop into coverage. But just hanging out here in the limbo land, not doing anything useful is a typical, and then you stop and turn around to the last minute. He's not good. First play of the game, by the way, for them, Dexter Lawrence slapped their sub center, their backup center who's playing because of the injury, upside his head and said, "Welcome to the NFL, young man. I'm going to be here all day." But that made it 1st and 5. So we had 3 interior defensive linemen on that first play. But then after the penalty, this 1st and 5, we took one of the defensive linemen off. I don't understand, why are we with 2 interior defensive linemen on 1st and 5? That seems like a great time for them to run. Why? Which is what they did. And why wouldn't we want, thankfully, Okereke held on to the jersey for dear life. But why wouldn't we want to try to stop the run better on 1st and 5? Of course they're going to run. And now let's watch Dane Belton again. Let's see what Dane Belton does. Here he is. Watch him come up here and just kind of stop his feet and watch the running back. What are you doing? Why are you stopping your feet there? Why are you, Dane Belton, not crashing down harder on this? It's clearly a running play, right? It's clearly a running play. So why would you start to break down here when someone already has a hand on him, right? He's slowing down. Why would you come to this stop here? And now look how he starts to move laterally instead of continuing to move upfield and make the tackle. Like if Okereke didn't have his jersey, Jacobs would have outrun you. Like you weren't going to be able to catch him if he wasn't being held up. Your best chance was to keep moving forward and to tackle him here. So yeah, we could have stopped him at the 35, but instead you let him just take an extra 2 or 3 yards for no apparent reason. Dane Belton's not good. So this play was the play that Kafka challenged, and he lost the challenge. Oh, my bad. And they got away with holding because Dontavian Wicks, number 13, literally tackles Drew Phillips. Watch Drew Phillips here and Dontavian Wicks. He is tackling this man, like literally lands on him. No hold was called. I don't get that. But also, once again, the edge is given up by our favorite Tay Banks, who is probably being held also, but just get outside further. You see, you've got this help coming up here. Get to the sideline. Make the man cut up into help. How many weeks in a row do I have to say that? Why are you breaking down here? Move outside. And Dane Belton, why did you take that angle? Right? You also had help here and here and here. You had help up in this gap if Banks did what he was supposed to do and got outside, or if this hold had not happened, if you weren't held, Drew Phillips could have done it himself. But you coming over the top would have made much more sense than going underneath and trying to beat Jacobs to the sideline when he's much faster than you. And so what happened? You go underneath and he beats you to the sidelines and you don't make the tackle. You aren't able to catch him. And now this help isn't helpful because you've let Jacobs get to the sideline. If you had just come across the top and or if Banks had gone out wide sooner, then Jacobs would have to cut upfield. Maybe he gets to the 35, maybe the 40, but instead he turns upfield and gets the first down and a lot more. Again, what do they watch in film study? I mean, I don't understand. I got to say, much as I love Dexter Lawrence, I do think he's injured. I don't think he's 100%. I'm not saying he should be on IR or anything, but he's not 100%. And he looks a little heavy and slow. This is the kind of play that last year, I think he gets the sack here, right? He just gets rid of this lineman. Good. And now that extra step upfield, I think he couldn't bring his body to stop soon enough. And then Love just outruns him. See, I think he's a little too heavy and not as mobile and agile as he used to be. Right here, there's nobody in between him and the quarterback. He should be making this angle here. Instead, he has to make the soft, slow turn because he's too heavy and actually runs upfield past Love. See, he is actually further upfield than Love. And Love just says, yeah, you're not catching me, big man. And that lunge, right? This looked like about 10 yards of running that should have been about 6. And then that's a sack. So again, I'm not saying he's not giving it his all. I'm not saying that he's playing badly, but he's not the guy that we were used to. Okay, this is the first touchdown It was Malik Willis to Christian Watson. And who did he catch it over? Of course, our old friend, Tay Banks. So here's Christian Watson, Tay Banks right in his grill. See the hit that Wills took. But yes, he just muscles his way past Tay Banks for the touchdown. I mean, he was there, right? As usual, the coverage wasn't well, not as usual. He's not always in good position in coverage either, but frequently he is near the man who he's covering, just unable to make a play on the ball. Here's a rear view of that. There's Banks's back, not looking at the ball. Here comes Brian Burns about to level Malik Willis and make him pay for making this throw. And yes, you're going to get hit. And there is Banks. Sorry. There is Banks again, not able to break up the play. Now, it seems to me that maybe at this point, when you didn't actually hit the ball, that you grab the hand, right? If you grab this hand, he probably doesn't catch this ball with one hand. I mean, I know they teach that to defensive backs. They do it to our receivers all the time. Right now, you've already missed the ball, right? You swung the ball and missed. He has the ball. Pull this hand off of the ball, and maybe he can't control the ball to the ground if you're holding his hand. And at that point, I'm pretty sure you get away with that. That's actually, I don't even think that is a penalty, but it certainly is unlikely to be called. You're not wrestling the ball away from him at this point. Just break his hands, separate his hands. If you open his hands wider than the ball, then only one hand is on the ball. What am I? Am I a defensive back coach? I am not. Nor am I a defensive back, but neither is Tay Banks. Let's watch this touchdown run where literally Dexter gets triple teamed. And here's Tay Banks. Watch him not make this tackle. He has a great view of this tackle because the receiver he was covering went to try to block the safety. So he is now unblocked. Here's the ball and the ball carrier. And let's watch him say, oh, if only I could have got there. You are terrible, terrible, terrible. Right now, Banks should be crashing here and meeting you at like the 7. Banks is at the 5, you're at the 10. He should be meeting you at the 7. Again, let's just watch for a second what happened to Dexter. He is literally triple teamed. The entire interior offensive line is blocking Dexter. There's Dexter. Left guard, center, right guard. All of them are blocking Dexter. So yes, the league does still respect him. They're triple teaming him. Now, how triple teaming Dexter doesn't allow you to make this tackle, I'll never understand. Or at least you. One of you should have been able to get to that ball carrier. I don't understand how that's possible because they didn't even release and climb to the second level. You just picked the wrong hole to fill, Mr. Flanagan Fowles, and allowed him to run right past you, right? This is you watching him run up the A gap while you're in the B gap for reasons that I'll never understand. And there is Tay Banks, who could have certainly made this tackle, but instead he kind of just jogs alongside, as you see, and escorts you to the end zone. Basically escorts you, and then he puts his hands on you when you're on the 1 and past him and no longer able to tackle him. There, ladies and gentlemen, in a nutshell, is Tay Banks. Now, I don't get how this is not offensive pass interference. This man's going to catch this ball out here in the end zone all by himself because of the pass interference. This is obvious offensive pass interference. It is clear to me that you are about to set a pick. Watch the pick that you set right there. How is that not? Literally knocked him to the ground. And what are you watching if you're not watching that? I don't get it. I don't understand how that is possibly not OPI. Let's watch that again. Here's the receiver that's going to catch it. Here's the man who sets the pick. He just knocks Javon Holland to the ground, just levels him. Boom. And made no bones about it. Like he wasn't trying to pretend he wasn't blocking him. He wasn't running a route. He knocked you down. So that should have been offensive pass interference. Here's that same play from a different view. This is the guy who's going to get knocked down. Watch him just get leveled. How is that not OPI? I don't get it. Okay. Now, Speaking of offensive pass interference, now we have the ball, 4th and 8, I think it was from the 11 or something like that. It was 4th down. Here's Theo Johnson. He's about to truck a defensive back, which probably is offensive pass interference. But after doing that, he's wide open. But Jameis just didn't have time to get him the ball. I actually think Jameis could have gotten the ball. Let's just watch the play first. There he is trucking you. That man is laying on the floor. So you're wide open, but Jameis couldn't get out that side to make the throw. And he winds up getting sacked. It's 4th down. They take over. But again, let's look at that. Here's Theo Johnson running you over, just saying, get out my way, get off me. I don't know if that's legal, but they didn't throw a flag. Now, might they have thrown a flag if the ball came? Maybe. But right now, you are just abusing this young man, throwing him to the ground. You're not on the ground, you're on the ground, so you're wide open. Jameis is going to step up and try to step left. Now, maybe if Runyon had a little bit more sand in the pants and pushed him back a little further, maybe he could have gone to the left, right? Because all he needed was like one step out the door, which I think he could have made anyway because Thomas had sent the other edge rusher way up the field. I think that's Kingsley Enagbare. If you could have got to here, then you could have just lobbed that ball into that corner where Theo was wide open. But you couldn't, or at least you didn't think you could, right? Right there is where you plant your left foot and come back. I think you could have just run, even if you just had to outrun. I think this is Devontae Wyatt, defensive tackle, and just throwing it in a step or two. I think that would have been the move. But listen, it's easy for me to say I don't have 350-pound men bearing down on me. So you see, he's already turned his head. He's basically given up on that option. He's trying to escape. So bad luck because Theo was wide open. It would have been nice if we could have gotten the ball. His Watson's second mossing, this time of Corey Black, who's not an NFL cornerback, with Dane Belton underneath in help, did not providing very much help, right? That's Dane Belton falling over you after you made the catch. Not sure how helpful that is, but Black and Belton are both there, and you're further upfield than both of them, and you outjump them and make the catch, and that's, kind of ball game. This is really ball game because this is where Jameis threw the interception when Hyatt stopped his route. And one could make the argument that this ball was thrown a little bit higher than it probably needed to be anyway. But Hyatt does have a 40-inch vertical and runs a 4.4. So I don't know. Maybe he does. You see the ball's out before he even turns his head. Maybe he does get back far enough and jump high enough to make a play on that ball. I don't know. It's hard to say. And of course, we'll never know because he didn't do it. But you can see him 13, Hyatt, slowing down. I'll show you from another angle as well. Just as the ball is coming. See, there's the ball. Hyatt doesn't know that the ball is out already. Hyatt hasn't turned yet, and he's about to slow down and give up on the route. If he doesn't do that, then maybe he is able to make a play on this ball. Here it is from another angle. And there's Hyatt. And you'll see him from this angle. It's a little easier to see that he's kind of slowing down and stopping. And the ball sails right past him to where he presumably should have been. So that was ball game. What are my takeaways? First of all, I think Kafka deserves a real shot, a real look. He is making changes. The outcome wasn't any different. The final score outcome wasn't any different, but he's going about things, I think, in a way that at least gives me reason to believe he's worth a legitimate shot. You may have heard me say on one of the other episodes that in hockey, they play shorthanded when there's a penalty. You literally play with fewer players on the ice than your opponent, and you have to kill the penalty. Maybe we should play shorthanded instead of putting Banks out there. Maybe 10 on 11 is actually better than having Banks on the field, because when he's on the field, you expect him to do things, and he doesn't do anything useful. And if he wasn't there at all, or if he was like sitting down to keep it 11-11, then the other 10 players would be like, oh, he's not there. I guess I have to do more. I got to do his job because he's not doing his job. So we might actually be better shorthanded than with Banks on the field. Obviously, I'm mostly kidding. But the same thing about Hyatt. When Hyatt's on offense, we expect him to do things. He doesn't do them. I think they both need to be cut. I just don't see how either of them is possibly the best option in the NFL. Like, there's nobody on a practice squad or even unsigned. Like, we can't go get Stephon Gilmore or someone who actually knows how to play football to play cornerback, and we can't find, Odell is off of his suspension now. We can't get somebody to play wide receiver instead of Hyatt. Not that I want Odell. He's a diva and a pain in the neck and probably cost too much money, but we need someone besides them. Go to the practice squad. I'm sure there's someone. And finally, the offensive line is actually pretty good. And it bothers me that we haven't extended Illuminor yet, or Flott for that matter, or Bellinger for that matter. Those are three people I would really like to see back next year. And so, this is, please, this is the QR code for Football with the Fellas, all about Big Blue. Please check that out. We need them back. I think that our team will be better next year with Flott, Illuminor, and Bellinger than without them. So what are we waiting for? Let's extend them now while no one but us can offer them money. Let's not wait till the offseason when the other 31 teams can bid for them as well. And now we're in a competition for them. One can argue that we should do it with Wandale as well. Wandale Robinson is a good slot receiver. I don't think he's a great slot receiver, but I think he's a solidly good slot receiver, and I'd be happy to have him back. But the other players, I think, are even better than him, and we need to have them back. So anyway, that's what I think. But I want to know what you think. Like, share, subscribe, comment. Let us know. What do you think about how Kafka got started in the Kafka era? What do you think about the people that I just said we should try to extend right now? What do you think about the state of the Giants? So please drop us a comment. Clay from Brooklyn, Football with the Fellas. It's all about Big Blue. And I'm out.
Big shout out to El Marquis Productions, the talent behind the music and production here at Football with the Fellas. It's all about Big Blue. Their beats bring energy and excitement to every episode. El Marquis' skills in mixing, mastering, and creating top quality sound make the podcast come alive each week. For your own projects, check out elmarquisproductions.com and take your sound to the next level.